A reward for honesty stories for teenagers, the wallet hit the wet pavement with a sound softer than thunder but heavier than fate, skidding to a stop beside the boy's torn shoes as the city rushed past him without noticing. Inside that thin leather fold rested more money than he had ever held at once, cards with names he didn't know, and a choice that would follow him for the rest of his life. The rain soaked his clothes, hunger tightened his stomach, and the streetlights flickered as if waiting to see what kind of person he would become in that moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of honesty, take a second right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel on Estia, where real values still matter. The boy's name was Arav, 16 years old, thin as the notebooks he carried to school, and burdened by a life that had never been generous to him. He lived in a narrow room above a mechanic shop on the edge of the city, a place where the smell of oil mixed with the dampness of old walls. His father had died years earlier in a factory accident that paid more apologies than compensation, and his mother worked long hours sewing clothes for people who would never know her name. Arav studied in a government school where dreams were taught only through borrowed books, and every day he walked 6 kilometers because bus fare was a luxury. Honesty was the one lesson his father had left behind, taught not with speeches but with actions, with the way he returned extra change even when no one was watching, with the way he chose dignity over comfort. Yet tonight, soaked in rain and shaking with hunger, Arav felt that lesson tremble. The wallet felt heavier than his conscience. He imagined the groceries it could buy, the overdue school fees it could clear, the medicine his mother needed but postponed because rent always came first. The city around him seemed to whisper excuses, telling him that the rich never noticed losses, that fate had finally leaned in his favor, that honesty was a luxury for people who could afford it. He stood there under the broken awning of a closed shop, rain dripping down his face, fighting a battle no one could see. The name inside the wallet belonged to a man whose address was written neatly, far across the city, where buildings touched the clouds and windows glowed warm even in storms. Arav folded the wallet into his bag as if hiding a dangerous secret and started walking, every step echoing with doubt. The journey to that address took him through streets he had only seen on television, wide roads lined with trees, silent security guards, cars that shone like mirrors. He felt out of place, his shoes squeaking with water, his clothes clinging to him like reminders of who he was. By the time he reached the gate, his hands were numb and his courage was fraying. He almost turned back, almost convinced himself that honesty would only deepen his suffering. But something steadier than fear pushed him forward. A memory of his father's voice telling him that character was what remained when everything else was taken away. The man who owned the wallet lived alone in a house too large for its silence. He was a successful architect named Raghav Malhotra, a man who had built skylines but struggled to hold together the ruins of his own life. That evening, he had lost more than money. The wallet contained a photograph of his late wife, the only thing he carried everywhere, a small anchor in a sea of regret. When Arav handed over the wallet, drenched and shaking, Raghav looked at him with disbelief that slowly softened into something like relief. He counted the money not with suspicion but with astonishment, realizing nothing was missing. In that moment, two lives stood at a crossroads, though neither fully understood it yet. Raghav tried to offer a reward immediately, pulling out cash and speaking words that Arav barely processed. Arav refused, his voice quiet but firm, explaining that the wallet was not his to profit from. He left before gratitude could turn into something heavier, before pride could weaken his resolve. Walking back into the rain, he felt lighter despite his empty pockets, though uncertainty clung to him like mist. He wondered if honesty always felt like this, painful yet strangely peaceful. Days passed, and life returned to its familiar hardships. Arav's school demanded fees, his mother's cough worsened, and the mechanic downstairs threatened to raise the rent. Honesty did not magically solve problems, and doubt crept back in during sleepless nights. Yet somewhere across the city, Raghav could not forget the boy's eyes, the exhaustion mixed with integrity. In a world where he had been betrayed by business partners and hollow apologies, that single act of honesty cut through his cynicism like light through fog. He began to search. Raghav visited Arav's school, learned about his grades, his attendance, the way teachers described him as quiet but reliable. He saw the neighborhood where hope struggled to survive, the narrow stairs leading to that damp room above the mechanic's shop. Standing there, Raghav confronted the uncomfortable truth that his wealth had insulated him from realities that demanded more than sympathy. He realized that rewarding honesty did not mean handing over cash and walking away. It meant recognizing potential and responsibility. When Raghav returned, his offer was not charity but opportunity. He arranged a scholarship for Arav covering school and future college expenses and offered his mother medical support without strings attached. He invited Arav to intern at his firm during holidays, not to polish floors, but to learn, to see how ideas turned into buildings, how discipline shaped dreams. Arav accepted with disbelief and gratitude that words could not contain. For the first time, the future stretched beyond survival. The transformation was not instant or easy. Arav struggled to keep up, balancing studies, work, and home responsibilities. He faced moments of insecurity among peers who spoke fluent English and wore confidence like tailored suits. Yet honesty became his anchor. He admitted when he didn't understand, worked harder when he failed, and earned respect slowly but surely. His mother's health improved, her smiles returning like long-lost friends. The room above the mechanic's shop felt less suffocating, filled now with textbooks and quiet hope. Raghav too changed. Watching Arav grow reminded him of values he had buried under ambition. He found purpose not in accolades but in mentorship and knowing that one honest act could ripple outward, reshaping lives. The photograph of his wife remained in his wallet, but the weight of grief felt lighter, shared with meaning. Years later, when Arav stood on a stage receiving an award for academic excellence, the applause sounded like rain finally turning gentle. He spoke not of luck but of choices, of a night when honesty seemed costly and pointless, yet proved priceless. The city that once ignored him now listened. Teenagers in the audience saw themselves in his story, in the struggle, in the doubt, and the quiet courage. Before this story reaches its final moment, we have a special request for you. Please comment below and tell us what honesty means to you, or share a moment when doing the right thing changed your life. Your words might inspire someone who is struggling right now. As the years rolled on, Arav became an architect too, designing schools and neighborhoods like the one he grew up in, buildings that welcomed light and dignity. He never forgot the rain-soaked pavement or the wallet that tested his soul. He taught young interns that integrity was the strongest foundation any structure could have. Raghav watched with pride, knowing that the greatest building he ever helped create was not made of steel or glass, but of character. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that honesty still matters in a world full of shortcuts, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and let us know your feelings in the comments. Your engagement helps stories like this reach more hearts. The reward for honesty was never just money or opportunity. It was the quiet strength to face life without regret, the power to change destinies, and the reminder that even in the darkest rain, one honest choice can light the way forward.